Whoa, I think we're all unmuted.
We are.
Hope everybody's doing good. Mallory, Rich, Chow, three of us been hanging out a lot. Down over here, Coach Hackleman. That's you, Coach Hackleman. So before we talk about ourselves, you got to have some kind of interesting news story to tell us. Didn't your man just suddenly become the oldest first time ever UFC champion?
Yeah, Glover. And anybody that knows Glover, everyone that knows Glover is rooting for him. In fact, I think Jan and his camp were rooting for Glover too. No, because he's such a nice guy. You just can't not. It's like you want him to win, even if you're fighting him. You want him to win. No, but those guys were so respectful, and Jan and his camp. Oh my God, they were such nice guys. It was really amazing.
So Rich wasn't here last time, so please retell your story. So this wasn't just Glover's. You were leaving fighting. You were like going to stop coaching. And you wouldn't have been here either. So it wasn't just this wasn't just his story. This is yours too. Tell Rich what happened to make you keep coaching your fighters.
Well, I'm pretty much done. And, most of my stuff is martial arts, and our gym is a big martial arts gym. And the fight team's always been on the side. But for a while, it was a pretty big side, But then, Chuck retired and some of the other guys, and I'm just like, I'm done. And then Glover, I was working his corner, most of his fights, and then I stopped. And he asked me if I would just finish up his career. And that was 6 fights ago. So I think, who did he just fight? He just fought someone. And then, so I started working with him again. So it's going to be him. I'm going to finish his career, and I have maybe 1 or 2 pros that I might, but I'm going to. Antonio Banuelos is a big guy there.
There was a part of this story where a friend of yours called you up to give you shit about stopping coaching. That's the part.
That was when my depression came in because of all these decisions. And Tony Robbins called me, and he was. He's not he's great. He's one of the best humans I know, but he does cuss a lot. He's the only guy since I was a little kid growing up in Hawaii that would talk to me that way. Like, you effing this, or you, and it's like, so he kind of told me that, what I owed to Glover and to some of my other fighters, and I got him there, and they started this to be in the our team, and I don't have any right to leave him right now, and it was with a lot of cuss words in there, and I kind of compartmentalize the training with fighters, and then all my other stuff, and I think I'm gonna, I told him, and I told myself, I'm gonna finish these guys' careers because I owe it to them. And then I'm just never going to step foot in any kind of fighting facility in the world ever. Because I'm not a fan either.
So, Rich, first of all, I know what you're thinking. And Mal's heard this story, but I know what you're thinking. Why does he know Anthony Robbins?
I'm not surprised one bit, man. Hack is I'm not surprised one bit. Hack's an interesting dude.
Okay.
Anthony Robbins is lucky that he knows Hack. That's the way I see it.
Thanks, man. I did an interview with. I talked to Ernie Shavers. Ernie Shavers was an old-time boxer who was, according to Muhammad Ali, the hardest hitter ever, and he's always been one of my favorites. When I was coming up, and everybody was fans of like Rocky Marciano and stuff, I was always pushing, for Ernie Shavers. I just thought he was a meaner puncher. He came a little after Rocky, but they had kind of they came from the same mold. But so I was talking about him once in some a magazine or something that I do. He's one of my favorite. I want my fighters to hit like him, and he called me, and like he heard I said some things, and his daughter told me this, and so he talked to me for like, I don't know, 20 minutes on the phone, and I asked him, why do you think you're the hardest hitter of all time? And he told me about the sledge, the tire sledge, and he said that's one of the things that helped him the most, create more plyometric power. So I've been doing that consistently since then. You guys are what the Tony Robbins thing. You think it just went somewhere else, huh? There's a reason. Okay, so I started putting all these things into Chuck's training regimen before his second fight with Randy, and I was writing it, and I was trying to figure out connect all this stuff, and I just happened to see, and I'm not even a Tony Robbins fan except for Shallow Hal. Remember Banana Hands? Yeah.
Right.
So I didn't even know who he was, but there was a like a planner, like how to keep your life in order, and I was thinking, man, this could help me with my training with Chuck, plus trying to run the school. So I got one of his planners, which I didn't really know who he was or anything. And then Chuck wins the fight, and I'm getting interviewed about Chuck, like always. Nobody just interviews me for me. There's always something to do with Chuck. I asked Chuck, does anyone interview you because of me? And you know what he did? He like laughed so hard he almost cried. But anyway, I got an interview. I think it was Full Contact Fighter or something. And I said, yeah, I use this Tony Robbins planner, and it really helped me, organize the training, and I was able to, fit a lot more stuff in, yada, yada, yada. Well, that Tony got wind that I said that. I'm sure he has readers or whatever. What do you call them?
Yeah.
They look.
They scam the today they just Google you. But once upon a time, there was somebody who job was to collect newspapers and scan to see if they talked about Hackleman or Bellator or Mallory or whatever. There were people, Tony Robbins, exactly.
And then somebody did that with Tony Robbins. He called me and, started thanking me and would I be interested in coming to one of his shows? And next thing I know, we're flying up to Toronto and went to his show, but we became friends. I don't know how. We just talking, texting, and now we became friends. Been over to his house, been over to mine. We're not like BFFs, but he's a friend, and he's called me a couple times with when he was working with Connor, and then I've called him a couple times when I'm trying to work with my own craziness.
Yeah.
So that's that.
That's that. Guys, what when you were watching that fight or before or after, what were you guys thinking we should talk to Coach about?
Well, can I Hack, I got to bring up a story. Do you remember, because this is what I thought when I saw,
not the Mahu, is it? Not the Mahu, is it?
No.
Not the Mahu thing, is it?
No. That's for
I'm
another
so tired
podcast.
of answering that question. Thank you.
But Hack, do you remember when JD Penn and I go to SLO to find you to talk about getting Glover in the country years ago when we were at Elite XC? This was like 2008. JD and I drove and we went to see you. We spent the afternoon with you. We're trying to figure out how the hell do we get this guy in the country. Yeah, that was way back. So that's what I thought. Holy shit. What's that?
Where do we meet? Do we meet at SLO Kickboxing or the Pit?
Yeah, no, we actually met at we met at your house first.
Okay.
Because who had the backyard?
That's me.
Chuck was working out. You had just got done
with the
training him in the back.
Yeah.
And then we eventually went. You showed us your academy, but we went there. We drove 3+ hours to see you to try and figure out how the hell do we get Glover Teixeira into America to fight for us. And it obviously we left, not being able to figure it out. But I thought of that moment and I thought, man, I'm so happy this guy found his way in and pulled off one of the greatest stories in the history of the sport. So anyways, that's what I thought of personally. Was that crazy trip to see Hack with JD Penn.
And nothing. Yeah. And because they had like the top lawyers in the UFC, like working overtime to get him. For some reason, I think Dana, once he couldn't get him right away, he just made it more of a mission. And they were working their ass off. And it took 3.5 years, It was crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. That's a really good perspective, though. Sometimes certain personalities, and from my experience with Dana White, he's one, and this is a compliment, is when you're not winning, you're like, fuck it, I'm going to win. Like, I'm not going to fail at this. I'm bringing this guy in, and you actually take it as a mission. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I have
guys,
my ups and downs
me
with Dana, but he's turned everything, around, and he's a great man for it.
Hey guys, just a quick backstory on Glover at that time. What made him that much more interesting at that time was Sokoju. That was when he broke through, right? He was in Pride. He knocked out two of the top guys in the world.
Yeah.
And the only guy to beat Sokoju at that time was Glover. So all of a sudden, he couldn't enter the country, but he had this aura about him that, man, this Sokoju guy's taking over the sport. Oh shit, the only guy to beat him was Glover. So that's what was the big thing at the time about Glover. And so that's what sent us on this hunt to try and get him in. So just a little backstory there
that's a funny
that
story.
whole,
Do you know how that fight happened? That fight happened because Dan Henderson called me and said, "Hey, I got a guy for your guy." Basically, because Glover had a couple fights, he was winning, and then the Sokoju guy was making this big splash in Japan and stuff. And he goes, "Hey, I got this guy I want you to fight." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just starting my guy out. I don't think we're ready for that kind of competition yet." And he's like, Danner's like, "Oh, you're like a mother hen. You got to protect your guys. Why don't you let them see if they're going to be good? Why don't you test them out?" I was like, I will. I just don't think he's ready yet. I'm just sorry. He's like, "Oh God, you're just a mother hen." And then that night, I just started watching video of Sojuku, and I just thought I've been watching Glover, and then I watched Sojuku. I go, Glover could beat him. So I called Dan. I called Dan that night. I said, "Oh, fight's on, bro." And he's like, "Oh, right." And that's how we set the fight. And then after he beat him, it was kind of. But how can you talk about Dan Henderson, one of the baddest humans ever? But it was kind of funny after Glover beat him. I could kind of go, "Oh, anyone else?"
Yeah. It is funny. Do you know Dan Lambert?
Yeah.
Coach?
Oh,
yeah.
Really
So
well.
Dan was hanging out with us, and he was talking about how these certain cycles of the story or evolution or fights or whatever, you see them over and over again. And we're seeing the same thing. Adesanya got knocked out once by a guy, and now he's the guy who knocked out Adesanya. Now he's in the UFC. Rich, the same. Mal, the same kind of cycle.
The
story,
same,
right?
Exactly.
And he's training with Glover.
Exactly.
I have a quick Coach Glover story. I was at a Maya show. I was out in Vegas, and I saw you, Coach, and I was like, "Oh, I want to get a picture, right?" And I was thinking, like, I was just so excited to get a picture with you. I forgot, because my arms are short. I can't do this and get a good picture. And I was like, "Oh, can we get somebody to take a picture?" And someone says, "Hey, I'll take it." I looked at it's Glover, hand in a cast. And I turned around like, trying to thank him tremendously. He's just there. I felt so happy to see him. For him to win. I was just, like you said, you think Yan and his camp wanted him to win, but it's literally one of those stories where it couldn't happen to a better guy, and so well deserving. Like happiness all around. Just so glad to see that.
Yeah, you don't see that too much where somebody wins something and literally everybody's happy.
Exactly. It's really weird. It's a weird situation where you have two guys fighting. And
must have been a good time.
The first round, I still had like this much worry, but it was pretty much like, oh, sigh of relief, and I wasn't jumping the gun. I honestly thought after that first round was over, I had a sigh of relief, but nothing like when he tapped and it was Glover just won the title. He's created this whole larger than life, the American dream story where he came with nothing and, he had to have a buddy fly him to California so he could train with us. And that buddy happens to be a friend of mine, coincidentally in Connecticut. And he struggles, then the immigration thing. And now here's this guy that, is probably making minimum wage cutting grass. Now he's he's like the American dream. He's not
Champion of the world.
Yeah, he's not gonna drive around in a private plane like Conor McGregor, but he'll never have to work again. He has houses. He has means now where he's living the American dream, and it made me so happy because I've known him, been training him since 2002. So yeah. Anyway,
Coach, I can't see you in Abu Dhabi. I just can't, like, you don't seem like somebody who's super comfortable in a weird hotel in the middle of far away, like 25 hours of flying. That's not you.
It was a nightmare. But the other coaches, the other fighters, and this staff, which I think like 95% of them aren't from Abu Dhabi. They're brought in to work because Abu Dhabi, they don't have to work at their own hotels, obviously. But everybody was so friggin' nice, but we were all hating it because we all got sick. Glover got sick right before the fight from the flight. We're getting tested every other day, so obviously we didn't have the corona, but there was a cold going around. I think had to do with the mask, but whatever. It was pretty bad and it was scary that Glover was wheezing, like 3-4 days before the fight. I was like, oh shit. But then like 2 days before the fight, he came downstairs. We met every morning for coffee and he's like, it's gone. I feel 100%, coach. I'm ready to do this. Let's do this. I love it. He's the whole camp and the whole time there. He's like, I love this so much. Thank you guys. I love you guys. I love doing this. He loves every single part of the process of, like some guys, I'm not taking pictures. I can't do that. He loves everything about it. And he's so grateful that he gets to be there. And you can tell when you talk to him. And it's like, he's not that guy. I'm not going to do this. I'm the big shot. I'm a big leaguer. He'll take the picture. He'll still grab the picture. He'll still grab the camera and take the picture. Yeah,
it's cool.
Hey, Robin, that actually brings up a question. If you think about it, let's just compare this last week. You had Colby fighting Kamaru. These guys have, somewhat legitimate beef. There was an emotional fight. But when you fight a guy like Glover, he's so nice. It's almost like a counter strategy because the only other person I could think of maybe Wonder Boy. They're like, this guy's so nice. It's like, how do you're trying to get up and, some people, how they have to be angry at another person to fight them, or they have to have some sort of animosity or some sort of storyline. And the thing is that, you're sitting up here hitting pads, kind of imagining this guy you're going to hit. And like, you kind of, it kind of seeps in. Well, this guy's kind of nice, man.
Coach, tell me what your thoughts are. Like Bisping and some guys like that who were around long enough
to. A fluffer.
Yeah, a fluffer. Who are around long enough to experience it. Like Bisping used to be like, I need to hate him. And then later he realized that was actually a distraction. That was a negative. It didn't help him. He believed he needed it, but you don't really need it, right?
Everybody's different. And I think he did at the time. Look how far he went, So I think but you mold. Glover wasn't always like this. Glover was like the Mike Tyson guy he was quiet, didn't talk much. Always been a super friendly guy, but he wasn't as he didn't have that grateful component as much as he does now. So it didn't come out as openly. His basically his love for everyone and what he does. But it's I like Chuck never got that, he loved almost all his guys except for Tito and then Vernon White. And I never knew the Vernon White thing because I was Chuck's trainer and I trained him for that fight, but I never knew why. I never could figure out. I didn't go back and ask him because he never liked Vernon White. I don't know why. I love Vernon White.
First of all, that is so OG, old school reference. That's exactly the kind of shit we like to talk about here.
Lion's Den, man.
Bird and Tiger White. But yes, if I'm talking to Chuck, or if you think of it, you got a lot more to talk about with him than that. But if you think of it, I would like to know why Chuck didn't like Bird and
I'll ask him. I'm gonna text him right now. Maybe it'll come out by the time we're done.
Yeah. Tell him by all means, if he's bored, just send him the link. He can jump right on. We're his friends. Chuck.
Yeah.
I've talked to Chuck recently in the last couple of times.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He's a good man.
Why
Hack,
did
I have
you
a question when
dislike
you're ready.
Vernon White? Question mark.
Yeah.
I love seeing this happen.
Question
Yeah,
mark.
this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
To which
Hack, I have a
normally
question when
some
you're
people
ready.
would be like, what's that? But Chuck will be like, a fucking coach.
Hack, what have you learned from Chuck and Glover? Or has their success just reinforced the things you always believed in, or did you learn new things from their success?
Yeah. I think I always learn about their success because their success was so different, but yet the same. But it's very different, but the same. So it's like comparing apples and oranges. I think as a training thing, they're a very different beast as well. So you could not ever train them the same. So I think just for both of them, like Chuck with Randy 1, and then Glover with immigration, and age, they overcame, and they showed their courage and the fact that they'll just overcome adversity and still make it, because both of them had adversity. I mean, a lot of times a guy knocks you out like Randy did with Chuck. He doesn't want to fight him again, and when he does, he always has that mental. I know this. He has that mental thing. This guy beat me. He's gonna. It's a game player, and he came back and beat him and became just so calm and cool going in there and beating all the guys and becoming the Iceman. And then Glover fought so many things, obstacles as well, the immigration. And then, he didn't have, he doesn't have the aura like Chuck. So he had to, overcome other ways. And then his age, like I said, his age, and he just, he's running a full-time camp right now. And he was for his camp as well. I mean, he was training Alex, and then he went to, where'd he go? Like Holland to work with Alex. Like that was within his camp just about. And then he still trains his team while he's training. He has a full team. 2 of them, 3 of them altogether, counting him, are in the UFC. So it's not a little neighborhood team. He has a real team. They're in LFA, PFL. I mean, he has some legit fighters in there. And he has a martial arts gym where he's training kids from like 4 on up with their tying their Hawaiian Kempo belts and all that. He's doing all that while he's training himself at 42 for the UFC title. He's the busy. I want to think he's probably the busiest guy I know.
But yet also the most grateful.
Yeah, and I know he's so grateful. That's all he does is he has a meditation room in his house, and he reads a lot of books, and he just loves. But he's the kind, anyone can do that, and that looks good. Like when a beta male does that, and I've been a beta male of late for other reasons. I
heard the breakfast you had this morning was pretty beta, Coach. He was eating nuts and yogurt and stuff for breakfast. Go on.
But what are we talking about? The beta what?
Sitting in a room, meditating, reading, and it looks good.
Is he a beta then? Yeah. Okay. No. So most guys do that are going to be a beta. Okay. And most guys say, I thank the world. I thank everyone, this great planet, and all my spirit animals. I thank them, and I'm grateful. But then as soon as they face this much adversity, they crumble. Oh, fuck that. I'll kill her. Glover's like that all the way. He's like that even when he loses a fight, wins a fight, has an injury in training. When he was sick in Abu Dhabi, he kept saying, I got so much to be thankful for. I can't complain about this. Most guys would be freaking out. They got a world title fight at 42 years old. Now they got a chest cold. The two don't go together very well. But he was like crazy. It's crazy.
The next level is you're grateful for the cold. You're grateful for the test. You're grateful for the challenge. You're grateful for the failure. You're grateful for the pain. You're like, that's the real level. That's the real
nirvana.
level.
That's nirvana.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you're right.
but anyway, so Glover is that guy. So it's just he's the real deal, and so is Chuck, but they were just different real deals.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So
I mean, it's funny. This is so Hollywood-esque, Coach. If they make the Glover to share a story, who plays you in the movie?
Richard Simmons.
They can't even find that. They can't even find that
Yeah.
motherfucker. They don't even know
What?
where he is. Yeah. No,
He's
Richard
like
Simmons is a.
I got him in my fucking shed, tied up.
Well, that makes sense.
He's my
actually.
fluffer. He's my fluffer. That was so
That
weird.
makes more sense.
The mystery is solved.
Wow.
There is
That was
actually
awkward.
a great podcast. Where's Richard Simmons? Because after being massive, and it's a great podcast. He's disappeared from public life, and people are
Really?
trying to find him. Yeah, it's
Right.
great actually.
Yeah.
It's great
I did
story.
not know that.
So that nobody knows where he is, and he's fluffing you in your garage.
Yeah, honey.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I have to see him before I see my hunt. But that's neither here nor there. Do not judge, guys. Don't judge.
No judgment.
Listen, there can always be somebody better or worse. I think Richard Simmons is perfect, and it ties in. The movie comes out. Richard Simmons talks about where he's been at all this time. You got a lot of this free press, and next thing you know, you're on the red carpet accepting an award. I mean, Glover will beat those odds too. He'll get. I put money on it.
I think that would be but yeah. So Richard Simmons would probably or the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket, something in the middle.
Arlie Emery. Oh, that would be great. I mean, I think he's departed from us, but
Yeah,
I could see that. That would be worth watch Friday night viewing. Pop in the DVD player.
I remember watching that movie with my kids, and he said, "You want to give him the common courtesy of a reach around." And my daughter was like, was she like 13 or something? She looked at Chuck. She goes, "What's a reach around?"
It's like
And Chuck,
you immediately
Chuck
start
like,
drinking.
Chuck was like, "Ask your dad."
Yeah,
Anyway.
that is the correct answer. That is the correct answer. Oh God, that's funny. I literally, I'm now picturing your living room and that entire thing
As it happened.
As it happened.
Hey, do you remember some of the Hawaii fights?
Rich?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember Do you remember no commission?
Mm-hmm.
Remember they asked me to sew up the guy who cut him? Somebody cut him. They wanted me to sew him up.
Your guy cut him.
Yeah, it was the.
Yeah.
Oh, it was my guy. Was it my guy? Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because then when I went in the room to sew him up, him and his wife were all pissed at me because I was yelling, "Elbow
It's
him!
your fault.
Cut him!"
Yeah.
And it was like,
Hey.
And then they say they need somebody to sew a guy up, and it's the guy your guy cut.
You know that guy heard you too. How awkward is it? Is it more awkward to admit that you have Richard Simmons in tied up, or is it to go in there and stitch a guy up as he just caused the damage and it's very quiet?
Oh, that's just full circle, right?
It is
full, it's a full circle. That's what that's the Bushido of it. Like, I mean, when you see, I can't even believe when I see some of these guys that hug their guys and help their Glover. Look at Glover. He's hugging this guy. He's trying to console him, saying, "You're still the champ. You're still great." And he's like, this guy, poor Jan. He's like in tears, and Glover's cuddling him like he's his big brother. It was unbelievably touching to me. It's just I can't even explain how that kind of stuff just makes me crazy with emotion.
People can't. These are the things that it will never be able to get across, right? Because when you're there. It isn't like you're watching some nebulous athlete hug another athlete and we say, "Oh, great show of respect," or whatever. You know that man, and he is meaningfully trying to make that other man feel better, even though he just took his lunch money.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not real. It's real. It's not some kind of masking of anything. That's the way these guys are. Probably 90% of them at least. Then there's some bad eggs, but not many.
Oh, fellas, I was just going to give you some context to the moment that Hack, was talking about, when he brought up the Hawaii, the old days, Wild Wild West, guys. I mean, we would just rent the Blaisdell and just put on fights. We didn't check in with anybody. No blood tests, no brain scans.
Come as you are.
No one to look over the matches. Not that we ever abused it. You know, we always try to put together
Were
the
you
best fights
matchmaking
possible.
those,
But yeah,
Rich? Were you
yeah,
matchmaking them?
that's where I got my start, was with the Penn family. You know, JD brought me in. We did the Rumble shows, and I was around for a lot of Super Brawl and Icon events with TJ.
You were the main guy. You were the Bert of Rumble.
Yep.
Something like that.
The Mick Maynard.
We all were. It was just there was like three of us, you know, with their family business, just putting on fights during the wild hack. That was a fun time, right? I mean, there's something to be said about the early days before regulation, before everything blew up. It was just hardcore.
You know, we fought at one, right? We fought at one in 1976. Do you remember that one?
Tell us.
That was the HIC.
Was that at the Blaisdell?
Before? No, it was at the HIC.
Long pants. Long pants.
Yeah. The HIC was the Blaisdell Center before it was the Blaisdell Center. That's like when I was fighting the Golden Gloves, it was the HIC. Then I think early 80s they changed it or something to Neil Blaisdell Center. But yeah, they had a anything goes match in 76 there, and it was pretty interesting. And I fought. I was 16 and I lied about my age, and Benny the Jet came over. He fought. He knocked out a local guy.
And it was sort of a long pant kickboxing, no kicks below the waist, right? Yeah.
No, you could do anything. You could do anything in these. These were anything goes. Oh, wow. Benny ended up throwing the guy or tripping him or something, and he hit the ground. And Benny ended up knocking him on the ground. He was 235. That guy. Benny was 135.
Wow.
He was just so good. Benny was so good.
He was
identical.
He was
and so, John, you were just getting going with Hawaiian Kempo at that time?
No, I was only 16. I've been training Kaji Kempo since 1970, and then my instructor Walter Godin, that's our system. I didn't make Hawaiian Kempo till 1985, and I started that one it's an offshoot of Kaji Kempo.
So you were just starting your martial arts journey. Learning the traditional stuff, and then later on created your own.
And
Kaji Kempo is just a mix of
karate.
More of a street.
Kaji Kempo comes from karate, judo, Kempo, bo, boxing. Kembo is actually Kaji Kembo.
Yeah, it started
karate,
in Hawaii.
Judo. Yes, Hawaiian Kaji Kembo. It's early MMA. It's early mixed martial arts.
Started in 1947. So the locals could beat up the Howleys down in Hotel Street. And don't judge if I used to go to Hotel Street. There were a lot of good-looking mahus there. Oh. But on another note, it's started by 5 guys, and Emperado was the main guy, Adrian Emperado, and he passed away like probably 10 years ago. But he was my instructor's instructor, and they were a bunch of rough guys. They wore black gis, and they were like, and they were fighting. They weren't like Miyagi-san. They were more like, the Cobra Kai guy. They liked to fight. They weren't like, they didn't use Japanese terminology. They were all, local Hawaiian English stuff. And there's guys that were respectful and this and that. But as most people, when they see Kaji Kempo guys, they're like at a tournament or something. They were usually the ones that were going to come out swinging and not, really abide by the no face contact rules. I'm just saying.
What a cool period. Yeah. But think about that. We do this sometimes. We'll pull up the old black belt magazines and look at the articles in the 70s. Some things very relevant today. Some things make more sense again. Some things less so right at this minute, but it'll come around. But Kaji Kempo, and you go back to the 40s, and there was it must have been just 4 or 5 high-level Hawaiian guys with different backgrounds got together and blended that style. It must be.
Yeah. They used to meet at rec centers in like the Pearl Harbor and stuff. There's these rec centers. Hawaii's big on rec centers. Like, my boxing gym was free. It was at the Palolo Valley Rec Center. When I used to train Kaji Kempo, we had it at a junior high school gym. Or not a gym. It was a cafeteria. We just moved the seats away, and we trained on the cement floor. It was at Jared Intermediate School in Palolo. But so that's where a lot of the Kaji Kempo guys, they train at a park. Sometimes we go to a park and hang a bag from the branch, and I'll do some bag work, and we'd spar in the park and stuff. So the Kaji Kempo guys, usually didn't have schools because they wouldn't be able to pay the rent. They don't have. It wasn't money, driven martial arts in Hawaii as it is in the mainland. Like they took Kaji Kempo and they mainlined it, and they monetized it more. And then to do that, if you want to do that, you have to soften it, because your average soccer mom doesn't want her kid in with an old school Kaji Kempo gym where they're stomping and punching the face and gouging the eyes and cussing and stuff like that, and rough, more of a rough and tough. I'm glad my mom never came in, but so when they brought it to the mainland and they wanted to monetize it, they wanted to keep that rough edge, but they didn't want it to be rough. They wanted to teach guys how to fight who really didn't want to fight.
Robin, speaking of, I
Yeah.
have something for you, Robin. Just searching the Black Belt Magazine archives, I came up to February 1998. An article, a brief overview of Kaji Kempo, described as America's martial art.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I came across it. So there's been a number of fighters. I knew that was something you started with, Coach, and I was commentating Rob Emerson fighting. And Rob Emerson came up as a kid. That was his first martial art. And that's kind of where I went down that. Can you throw it in the window now?
Yes, I can. Let me get it on up for you over here.
Yeah, one of the local Hawaiian guys did too. Who's a local? Give me another local guy.
Rich would know better than I. America's martial art. But with all due respect to America, and I know you three are Americans, I'm Canadian. Do we really call something ours if we just take it from other things, and just put them together? I mean, I guess so, right? Because all good things are compiled from other things. There's very few things created from nothing. But but to be honest, it wasn't really America's martial art because Hawaii wasn't a state yet. Really, in the 40s?
That's correct.
Yeah,
wow.
59.
So
it's Hawaii's martial art. Yeah, that would be it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is very cool.
Yeah. We weren't a state till 59.
This is Hack. Okay. Do you still do the? I know COVID's probably thrown this off, but I remember meeting you guys during your black belt testing. You still take it back to Hawaii and
no. See, COVID did that because COVID didn't touch our gym, but it did Hawaii. So we weren't allowed to go. Just basically, it would have meant so many restrictions. Nobody would have a good time. We had like 40 guys ready to go.
Can you tell the guys, Hack? Because I remember meeting you guys some nights, you, Chuck, Antonio, and just, talking about what you guys were going through. It's like a week long, or can you break it down for the guys?
Yeah, we go to our belt system is just like any other martial art, minus the katas and the forms, and it's kind of like an MMA martial art for the street. But then once you get your brown black, now you're ready to take the next step to the black belt. So they got to let me know, and they got to pass a couple tests first, and then they can jump in the black belt candidacy. And the black belt candidacy only comes around once a year. And it's 9 months of, they have to do their regular 2 classes at the gym, that's regular. Then they have to come to my place out at the compound at least once a week, Saturdays, and they do whatever I tell them. A lot of wheelbarrow, sometimes sparring, stuff like that. And then Friday night they have to spar, because we're not a big sparring gym anymore. We do a lot of drilling, and I don't make anybody spar hard to the face ever unless they want to. Then they can come Friday and beat the shit out of each other. But I don't think anyone should be punched in the face unless they want to, because I don't think it prepares you for anything except brain damage.
100% agree. So when they are sparring on Friday
I wish my instructor thought so.
Yeah, I know. My brain's a little traumatized. When they spar on Fridays, the black belt guys, the black belt candidates, Big gloves, big headgear, shin pads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They use regular gloves, 14 or 16s, and then regular everything else.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I put the MMA gloves on them, and then they're just allowed to do 1% power, but a lot of takedowns and a lot of groundwork.
Yeah.
So I
That's
mix it up.
that combination is, you see a lot now, and some gyms just call it Wednesday night we're doing big glove sparring, Friday night we're doing small glove sparring. Big glove we're hitting hard. Once we take you down, we just get back up. Small gloves we're hitting light, but once we take down, we keep working on the ground, and that seems to be the best way we can kind of blend them.
Yeah, it is. The only difference is when we take them down with the bigger gloves, they're allowed to do a little more damage because they have the bigger gloves.
Yeah.
So we keep them down there, but we know that they can't get out of a position as easily with the gloves. So we just let them do a little bit of power. They can at least try to mitigate the damage by breaking their posture. So we let them stay on the ground for a little while, then we stand them back up. That's my regular class that's my regular Hawaiian Kempo class and my fight team. They both train exactly the same, except for probably 4 techniques on either side that don't cross over. That's what she said.
I remembered the other day when I saw Joseph Benavidez had retired, and he's a great fighter. And I remember I was looking for footage where me or my partner that I used to work with at Fight Network 2014, I think it was my partner John, he asked him, when you're done fighting, are you going to do martial arts and train for a lifetime? He's like, nah, man, I don't know if that's true now. That's why I brought it up. I wanted to ask him if that's true. Once you're done fighting, he was like, nah, I'm not going to spend all my time in the gym. I'm going to live my life. I'm just going to, train occasionally, but that thing is over. I don't know if that's true now. What about you, Coach? Like, is there a time you'll stop training people or stop physically doing stuff? Like, how will you change that as you get older and your kids grow up more?
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever stop. I'm 61 now, and to be honest, my training schedule is almost the same as it was, for the last 40 years. I do 5 days a week. I do 3 really hard days. That's what she said. And then I do 2 easy days, medium days, and then I rest 2 days. But I've been doing that since I was fighting, so I haven't changed much, except I'm sure I look different. I'm sure my power doesn't feel the same, but us old guys, we want to pretend, I'm that young guy. I'm still that young guy. Gosh darn it. But so I still train my diet. I think my diet is unbelievably clean.
Better.
And then I meditate, and that's another huge game changer that I picked up in 1976 when I was 16. I've been doing it. And that, like, if I missed a day of that, my wife knows. If the boys are making noise, she'll go, quiet, John, do meditating. Because she knows if I meditate that day, I'm going to be a lot nicer to everyone. Because it makes you more peaceful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's true.
Oh, thank you.
You had to see that.
Yeah. WizKid.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Man, it's nice. It's good to catch up, man. I was trying to connect with you when you were over there.
I haven't seen Rich in a long time.
Yeah,
I just saw we just did something. But
I heard a weird sound.
Hack, I saw you last at a Bellator LA. You had one of your young kids fight.
That was a good night.
You were there with Ian.
Yeah,
a couple other of your old school guys, man. It was really nice to see you guys.
Good to see you. What are you doing with Bellator?
Well, I was the matchmaker. I just I consult now. I started a new career path with a company called Wimp to Warrior. I got to call you and tell you about it.
Have you heard about it, Coach? Have you heard about Wimp to Warrior?
What is it called? What's the Warrior?
Wimp to Warrior. Yeah, it's very
interesting. Wimp to Warrior.
Yeah, so it's a company that takes we partner up with elite gyms all over the world, and I should talk to you on the side about this, about getting you guys involved. But we basically provide a program and an opportunity for the average person to come in and train. It's a 20-week, 100-session program that gets them an amateur fight at the end. And this is intended for this isn't for fighters. You know, it's we've had housewives, grandmothers.
So when you say fight,
working
it's like a
professionals.
smoker fight.
They fight a amateur fight. Yeah, it could be a smoker. It just depends on, because we do this globally. Some areas they can't fight MMA. They have to do, you know, do kickboxing. But it, like in California, it'd be like a camo fight. It'd be a sanctioned amateur fight. So for some people, it's a fantasy MMA camp, and for others, it's, you know, human transformation. I need something in my life to get me, you know, get me on track. I need a kick in the ass. I need a challenge. I need something to get me, you know, over this hump. So really cool company. 10,000 people globally have already gone through the program. It's based out of Australia. So it's my job, along with a couple others on the team now, to bring it to America and just try and get average everyday people into MMA training. So
that's good. Huh. I'd be man, I've had a few of them, Wimp to Warriors.
Yeah, it's
40%
are women. It's very interesting. 40% of the competitors and participants are women. And yeah, it's more like it's not about the fight, right? It's about the journey, overcoming obstacles, all those things that we know, the magical things martial arts can do for someone. I mean, we're all here together now because we followed martial arts, right? And this is where it led us in our lives. So just trying to give a little bit of that to the average person.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think the fight is huge though.
Yeah, you know, the fight isn't required. It's an option, but like 95% want the fight. They want that. They want to overcome that fear and handle that challenge.
I think everybody should do it. Everybody should train martial arts, and everybody should go, not in the military, but at least through basic training.
Yeah. Well, Hack, let's bring Wimp to Warrior to slow, and you know.
Oh shit, we got.
I'll call you on that.
Because you know we have that crazy fight night, right?
Yeah.
We have a frat fight night that Antonio puts together every year, and they just go at it. We put a kit in the ring. We put a ring in the middle of this dance floor at a local. Oh shit! They closed the graduate down because of the whole Corona thing. Oh, so anyway, I don't know if they'll do it somewhere else, but it's just they just go at it. They're only boxing, but it's pretty cool to see these frat guys who you think are just complete wimps, and they're just like, you know, being a frat guy, but they're really just complete beta males. But then when they're fighting, some of these guys are tough as shit, man. They're like bleeding and shit. They go, I'll say, I'm going to stop it. No, I want to keep fighting. It's like, you're like a little rich kid that is being sent to college, and now you're a tough guy now.
And now you're a savage tonight. Just tonight. But
whatever.
You know, it's interesting too, because on a different night at a different moment, he's different than, you know, we are not. When we find ourselves in these moments, we're not like a definitive thing. We have to be what we can be in that moment, you know?
Yeah. And it's crazy to look back at, the things that, you know, never thought would happen that happened. And then where we are now, it's like, I bet all of us could think of that day when I'm walking down, Kamakee to media, and some guy shoves me and says, "Hey, fucking Holly, give me your lunch money." And then all of a sudden, you know, fast forward, 50 plus years, and it's like, that's my favorite term now.
Yeah, no, I know. I know it's true. You know, I was going to ask you about that because I watch you. You know, you went from not ever doing Instagram to sharing concepts and showing ideas and making little content around fighting and sharing insight and stuff. Is there a root purpose? Is it just to teach people martial arts, or what is the root purpose of those pieces that you make?
I think that the overall purpose or the goal is just so everybody can, because not everybody's going to do it. So if you make it tough, like everybody wants to be tougher in the gym and tougher in each class, but they don't realize the majority of the people don't want that. So you're going to lose almost everyone. But if you're a little softer on them, but then you throw in some toughness here and there, at least they'll get that. But if you're just all tough, they won't get anything, and they'll remain being, just complete beta bitches. And I want to stop that in its roots. I want to try to stop it, and I want to redirect people to being, alphas, and not be a bully, not be, oh, I'm a tough guy, but be that guy that's confident. Is like, hey, nobody's gonna take my lunch money. That's all I want, And sometimes you gotta be funny. Like I'll make a funny something, and they're usually not. And my wife always shakes her head. You're so stupid. Nobody's laughing. And then
I'm laughing.
Thank you.
No, Hack, those videos, your tips are great, man. What I love also is you'll show something that's meant for competition, for sport, and then you'll show us something for the streets, right?
Yeah,
you'll show us some no rules, self-defense stuff.
Real life.
I love how you teach both. Hey, if you're in combat, if you're in competition, you're in sport, this is what you do. And if you're out on the street and it's a life or death situation, this is what you got to do. And I think that's really valuable.
It's so weird because they're both exactly the same, but they're also both polar opposites. It's so weird because everything going into that street attack that gets you ready for comes from your training and the way you train and the way you visualize and the way you not fantasize, but you put yourself in a situation so your muscle memory adapts to it better, and then that's the same thing in a cage fight or a street fight, but now there's a difference. The cage fight, you want to hurt the guy. I hate to say that. You don't want to hurt him, long term, but you want to hurt him enough to win. And in the street, you don't care. You just want to get home. Mm-hmm. You'll kill him. Mm-hmm. You'll hurt him. You just want to stop him. So boom, now they're both the same. We just want to stop the guy. You know what I mean? But then, so they're so different, but there's so many similarities and so many differences. I'm always trying to put the two together and watch a fight and go, what street, how would that work? And then if I watch a street fight, I think how similar it is to MMA. And it's like now being able to train fighters for this long, I could put techniques out there and test them out like a doctor, like Dr. Frankenstein, like when Chuck fought Guy Metzger. We put together this Metzger hook because I thought the way Metzger came in after a combination, that Metzger hook would just work just perfect. So we did it. It worked. So now I get to see how that would work in the street. They're coming in for a take, whatever. Then we came up with a Babalu kick, and that worked really good.
Yeah.
So these things, that I get for from the cage, they work so well in the street. And like I said, for the street, when I watch the stuff, not so much.
So, what's interesting is when you're trying to figure out where the next little opening is, if your guy is doing exactly what he should be doing, he's got his head under a chin and he's putting in his position, pushes his hip in here, the other guy's doing what he should be doing, and you get to a stalemate where everybody's doing the right thing, you're like, okay, well, what else is there? And the answer is often, well, what's illegal? Or what's illegal in certain sports? Like in wrestling, you're not supposed to drive your hand up against the guy's nose in a particular way. Well, you can do that in fighting. So we should do that. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the times where the gray area is, or what the rules sort of prevent you from doing, is where the best functional stuff is.
So push it to the limit, basically.
Yeah, find what the limits are that are allowable. And within that, like when you're saying, what do you see on the street? Maybe in a street situation where somebody's defending their life, there might not be that much to draw. But in a situation where somebody has broken the rules in wrestling or karate, there may be something that we can draw from that gray area to use in the cage.
That could be that'd be like not quite illegal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's edgy. It's like on the edge.
Finding the limit.
On the edge.
Operating on the edges. Yeah.
Or testing the limits. Oh wait, Chuck just texted. Okay.
Okay. Drum roll. Here we go.
Let's find out.
We were cool, but 2 separate times he accused me of ducking him. Both times was about low money. Okay. So he said he's ducking. I don't want to read the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
but
he's-
okay.
So that's why they don't like, because I could never figure out. I know I never heard anybody bad mouthing each other. I know with Tito I did.
But
So I was like, why did he not like Burmese? But I guess but so it wasn't like the kind of, not hatred, but that real that he had for Tito. But it was kind of it's the only time he didn't really like someone else. Usually he do, like even Rampage. I mean, they were buddies, Not like.
But think of
buddies,
this, like it's especially when they're a little younger and there's still that bit of pride and stuff. Now you're like, that guy accused me of ducking him. That's bullshit. Like kids now will still have that response, right? If somebody comes on Twitter and says, you're afraid to fight, whomever, they'll have that like, bullshit, man, I'll fight anybody. Even a young Chuck had that to some degree.
Yeah, that's why you can't ever leave a fight up to, and I can't stand when trainers do that or managers. They'll like say, okay, like a promoter or another trainer or manager will say, you want to fight this guy? And they look at the fighter like he has a say-so. He shouldn't have a say-so unless he makes it higher up. Then he has a say-so after you said so. So I think because a fighter, and the reason being, a fighter is always going to say yes because of his pride, where a manager will think what's best for the fighter. The fighter doesn't think what's best for him. He just will say yes to everyone. And the manager, it's not his ego, so he can say, let's wait a couple more fights or something like that. So that's where that comes from,
Smart.
So.
Smart. Guys, I'm going to have to jump off in a few minutes, and I'm afraid when I do, because I opened this stream, that it might end the whole thing when I take my computer.
Same here. I got to get back to work.
Let's go ahead and wrap. Let's go ahead. Yeah, definitely wrap.
Coach, it's always good to see you, man. I love your stories, and I just love hearing that. We loved, and you, in fact, that you and Rich go back so far, added a lot to these stories, but we just love hearing the early stuff. Once you start referencing martial arts that were created in Hawaii in the 40s, now you got art. Now we're in, but thank you, man. Thank you.
Do you remember my Howley Pride Hawaiian Roots?
Yeah, Hack, you're nuts, man. I'm gonna have to explain to these guys, give them the background on everything, and it'll blow them away. Especially, we'll save the Mahu stuff for next time. We'll have to just take you to Hawaii and Hack.
But
we'll show you around.
It's always at the forefront of my mind. I'm just saying. But anyway, whatever.
Thanks, Hack. You're the man.
Let's get another one
Yes.
soon. Good seeing you guys. Great talking to you guys.
Thanks, everybody. That was a real pleasure.
All right. Thanks, brother. See you later.
Bye.